would give us, the gift of Jesus. Jesus' words here, though, are a little bit more challenging than just mere presence or mere experience. Jesus says something that's really going to hurt our culture today. Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to the Father except through me. No man comes to the Father except through me. I am the way, the truth, and the life. Well, if you know anything about our day, truth is challenged on all levels. It's challenged. Matter of fact, there's a really silly argument in our day, mainly with the younger crowd and college campuses and liberal professors. There's a really silly argument that truth doesn't even exist. I'd be surprised if you haven't heard that argument before. Truth doesn't really even exist. What's truth? Of course, Pilate asked Jesus that, so it's not a new argument. It's just a silly one. What is truth? Does truth even exist? Some people say truth is relative. What does that mean? What truth is relative means is what's true for you is true for you, what's true for me is true for me, and don't let your truth tell my truth that it's wrong. As long as our truths don't interrupt each other, let's just live our lives, and whatever's true for you is okay. Doesn't matter what you say is true. Jesus says something really challenging, though. He says that I'm the way, the truth, and the life. Jesus says, I am truth. I am truth. So if truth is only relative, then there's a big problem with Jesus' words. Jesus doesn't believe truth is relative. Of course, that silly argument can be shut down rather quickly. Imagine if some two guys are arguing about whether gravity exists. Well, what's truth is for you is truth for you, and whatever's true for me is truth for me, but I don't believe gravity exists. I'm going to jump off of this skyscraper with no accompanying gear, and I guarantee you gravity does not exist, because truth is just relative. Truth does not really exist. And the guy says, yes, it does. No, it doesn't. Yes, it does. No, it doesn't. And he jumps off the skyscraper. What's going to happen? Well, the thing about truth being relative is truth could be relative for all peoples until there's an intervening outside force. Now, you can say the grass is green or it's brown all day long, and those will be silly things that could just be debated, or the dress is blue and black, or it's yellow and white, or gold and white. You can debate all those silly things all you want, and those are all meaningless until there's an intervening force, an outside intervening force. Then truth really does matter. If I'm standing on the train tracks and it's another day and I say truth is relative, doesn't really matter if a train comes, that only matters until the train comes. Then I better move out of the way, because truth really does exist and truth really does matter. Of course, if you've ever heard your dad's old fishing stories, you know that truth is relative, because the fish gets bigger every time he tells it. Man, you'd never believe the whopper I caught, Dad. My dad's here today. You'd never believe the whopper I caught out on High Rock Lake the other day. Man, it was this big, and the next time it was this big, and the next time it was eating a shark when I caught it, and then the next time, love you, Dad. Or like Heath's hunting stories. Man, that deer was so huge you'd never believe how big it was. The rack on that thing was this big. It was a 45-point rack. Well, Heath, isn't the record 38 points? Yeah, but man, it was huge. It was 190 pounds. I thought I saw Heath in here, but he must have squeezed out. So I apologize, Heath. I was going to throw you under the bus, but now I look like the idiot. Or truth has to be relative. If you've ever heard my college basketball stories, they get better and better every time I tell them. And or truth really, really has to be relative if your wife ever asks you if she looks good in this dress. You can't really actually come to a truthful conclusion there. You have to really figure out what's the best thing to say in this moment. So maybe truth is relative at times, but truth can only be relative until there's an outside intervening force that really, really matters. For instance, gravity. For instance, the train tracks. For instance, meeting the Father on Judgment Day. Now, that would be something that really matters. And Jesus says something that is going to completely take our culture by surprise. He says he's the only way. He's the only way to the Father. I don't know if